How rare is it for an educator to confidently announce that after only 2 months at a job, they want to retire from there? Rare, exceedingly rare. However, I'm the one lucky enough to have made that statement. Throw in a pandemic, virtual learning, a second kid in an expanding program, and I can still confidently say, I want to retire from here. The magical mix of smaller classes, project-based learning, internships, coworkers who you feel like are your family, and most importantly, the relationship I've built with the advisor you guys are about to be inspired by, are what keep me with the retire from here mentality. All teachers have heard at some point in their career, schools kill the creativity and fun in learning. However, big picture is designed to do the exact opposite. Through project-based learning, classwork, independent projects, and internships, all of our students get to put all their creativity into all their work, which continues to inspire me on a daily basis. Each one of the seniors you're about to hear from have a unique and personal story to tell. The amount of dedication and hard work they have put into these speeches is nothing but inspiring. I am lucky enough to have been their advisor for the last 5 years. They have inspired me. Graduation up here. Inspired me to always want to do my best. Inspired me to want to always do the best I can. They have inspired me to have full confidence in them to inspire all of you. What you just heard was my promise to them that along with them, I will write and perform a TED Talk on stage in front of an audience just like they will. Good evening. I'm Matt Levine, the advisor to the senior class this year. Before we get going, we have some procedures to go over and some big thank yous to all those that helped out. Thank you to Karen Monaco for being the brainchild of this event. Thank you to Claudia O'Keefe from Nichols for giving us guidance through her past times doing TED at Nichols. Thank you to Stacy Pritchard for helping each and every single one of the kids craft their unique stories. Thank you to Scott Guagliano for setting up all of the tech for tonight's event. To Tommy Wagner for always making sure our school is in tip-top shape. To all the VP staff who helped us rehearse and practice down here in the auditorium. To John Graber for going above and beyond his student teaching duties. And to all of you, thank you to come to this event tonight to support these amazing seniors who you're about to be inspired by. Now please, get ready to be inspired by these amazing seniors. Thank you.
Welcome to something special. Welcome to TEDx. This TEDx event is part of a global conversation that takes place every day in every corner of the world. In schools, in theaters, in workplaces, even in prisons, people gather to hear the best ideas bubbling up in their communities. More than 3,000 TEDx events are held every year in 170 countries. It's a remarkable thing. TEDx events are self-organized under a license from TED, a non-profit organization devoted to discovering and sharing powerful ideas in the form of TED Talks. It's not TED itself, but your local TEDx team of volunteers that has done all the work to put on today's event, including booking all of the speakers. It's this team's ideas, dedication, and time that have made this possible. We really hope today's program sparks an exciting conversation. This is a day for curiosity and for skepticism, for inspiration and for action. The more you enter into it, the more you will take out. And now, on with the show.
I remember the day I first tried to take my life. It was the same night I ended up in ECMC for the first time. My mom hearing the words, "I want to kill myself," come from her daughter's mouth must have been frightening. I can't even begin to imagine how she processed that. By the time I got to a residential facility after going to short-term hospitals, I was used to the feeling of being alone. I didn't have good social connections, and I had a therapist, but we weren't right for each other. I didn't communicate with my mom, and I had next to no friends. The realization that what was happening to me was not okay was when I entered the residential facility, Western New York Children's Psychiatric Center. The residential facility at CPC felt cold and lonely, even though I was surrounded by people. In 2022, the National Library of Medicine said that rates of teen suicide increased by more than 40% compared to years before 2019. It's no surprise that these numbers spiked after the pandemic, where people were isolated and not connecting socially. The CDC has lots of research on social connections. They have stated that loneliness and social isolation may be shaped by conditions in the environment where people are born, live, work, learn, worship, and play. The CDC defines social connections as the size and diversity of one's social network and roles, the functions these relationships serve, and their positive or negative qualities. When you don't have good connections in your life, a lot can go wrong. When I didn't have those good connections, I wound up in the mental hospital. My stays in these hospitals has affected my mental health positively. Everyone has different experiences in these hospitals, but I personally had a good outcome in my stays. Getting out of CPC, the residential facility, was a difficult transition. I had to reconnect with my mom in a way that was good for us. I rejoined a counseling center with a counselor I started with a few months before I went to CPC and reconnected with her along with many others. I started school at Big Picture 2 days after I was discharged from CPC. I was still in a bit of a state of depression and I was very shy. I made lots of friends by my first week at BP and made good connections with lots of teachers and staff. This school has helped me in more ways than I could have imagined. You could say that Big Picture helped save my life. So that's why in schools I believe that staff should be emphasizing the importance of social connections. In fact, the American Psychological Association has stated, research has shown that young people who feel more connected to their schools are less likely to engage in many risky behaviors. And that's what I have now at Big Picture. Making these connections that were positive has helped me become a better person, not just mentally, but socially. Here I am now, graduating in a few months, going to college, and even giving a TEDx talk. It is amazing to express how far I've come in just a year. If you had asked me a year ago what I wanted to do with my life, I would have told you, I don't plan on sticking around much longer to even think about having a future. I was recently reminded during my first learning plan, I said to my advisor, Lorraine, I can't think about what I want to do with my future. So, having good social connections can save a life. You never know what people are going through, so please be that positive connection in someone's life. As for me, I guess you could say, I'm a phoenix rising up from the ashes. Thank you.
When I started at Big Picture in high school, I wore a beanie with an alien symbol on the front of it every single day. This beanie was not just an accessory, but rather it became a defensive item against people discovering anything about me. On a random school day, one of my classmates pulled the beanie off and revealed that I had long, bright pink dyed hair. Now, don't get me wrong, I love my hair. But before this moment, nobody knew what my hair looked like or if I had any hair at all, which is exactly how I wanted it. The second she pulled the beanie off, I remember many emotions in that room. A lot of classmates were surprised or curious, and I was terrified. I was terrified to be there. Despite all of these temporary emotions though, what really stuck with me was the fact that somebody had seen something about me that was vulnerable and I hadn't completely exploded like I thought I would have in my head. Everything was fine after, and I think this was the main turning point which had allowed me to gradually build exposure and become more in touch with myself. I have come to realize that this feeling of shame when trying to express yourself to others is not unique to me, and that many people, teenagers especially, deal with the feeling of shame. For instance, iMom, a popular website which involves healthy parenting and guidance for healthy parenting, states that when kids are little, they're still figuring out the world. They're not jaded and they're generally happy. But then something happens and they start to care more about what others think. This awareness of how other people perceive us can cause us to become more shameful. And it can cause us to kind of curl up in a ball and imagine we weren't there to experience that shame. As we grow, we pick up on certain social cues that dictate the rules on what are considered normal. And the negative consequences of breaking those rules can become overwhelming. I've experienced this with my own friendships, canceling plans and withholding information. And when I joined BP, we were in the height of the COVID pandemic lockdown. So we were having classes virtually. Classes, and especially advisory, were always meant to be personal, but were daunting to me. Some kids have an easier time adjusting to this feeling, but I'm not one of those kids. It took me a long time to get where I'm at now, and I'm still not at 100%. I remember a moment where this specific issue came to light, where I was having an argument with my advisor and some of my classmates on the virtual class, because I didn't want to turn on my camera, turn on a light, or show anything but my eyes. I think the pandemic definitely made the issue a lot worse, causing us to be not as social, but coming back in person definitely helped a lot with breaking that cycle. And breaking free from that cycle is one of the first steps you can do if you're feeling these types of shame. For me, it was as simple as having my beanie removed, but for others, it might be speaking freely without hesitation, or expressing yourself through fashion. Those negative emotions might last a few minutes, but the freedom of breaking that cycle will last you a lifetime. Over time, the anxiety begins to fade, and you quit wearing that defensive apparel. Every step after becomes easier, almost like running into a cold ocean. At first, it's shocking and uncomfortable, but the longer that you stay in, the more that you adjust, and you're fine in the end. The number one thing I want you all to take away from this talk is that you will love yourself for taking that first step. And when the time comes, don't be afraid to take off the beanie. Thank you.
When I was 15, my grandfather passed away from prostate cancer. When he passed, I believe that his cancer came from old age, and it was a disease that you can only get when you got older. Now, the reason I'm making this TEDx presentation is not because of my grandfather, but because of a Minecraft YouTuber. I know, embarrassing, right? In 2021, Alex, aka Technically, posted a video for the first time in around 8 months saying where he's been. In the video, it was stated that he was diagnosed with a tumor in the shoulder, a rare form of connective tissue cancer called sarcoma. But he had confidence because this type of cancer should have been easy to prevent. As time passed, he would post updates on his condition and kept holding confidence in his recovery. Alex would go through months of chemotherapy and radiation therapy, but to no success, and almost became an amputee due to how severe the cancer in his shoulder was, but had a successful limb salvage operation by replacing the cancer in his shoulder with thigh muscle. When I heard about his operation, I believed that he won the battle with cancer. Now, I remember this like it was yesterday. June 30th, 2022. I remember getting out of the shower and seeing a notification on my phone with from Technoblade with the caption, "So long." It was a video that was posted by his father stating that he had passed away because the cancer had metastasized to his lungs. At the time, all I could think was, how could it get this bad without any warning after it was looking so promising and he was so young? Because of his passing, it made me want to help people learn about cancer and how to prevent it in the first place. To prevent cancer, you first need to know what you're looking for. Unfortunately, cancer has many warning signs that look like other illnesses, and this causes people not to second guess their symptoms. And as the cancer develops, the symptoms will worsen and chances of survival grow shorter as time goes by. Getting screened is crucial to catching cancer early and can be treated if it's not become too aggressive or large. Early detection of cancer focuses on diagnosing symptomatic patients as early as possible so the patient has the highest chance of survival. When I originally thought of cancer, I used to think that it was irreversible and there's nothing you can do. However, cancer is preventable, but not 100% preventable. The World Cancer Research Fund states that nearly 40% of all cancers are associated with modifiable risk factors. Half of this percentage is caused by smoking alone, while the other factors include diet, being overweight, drinking alcohol, and lack of physical exercise. People engage themselves in these behaviors, some more than others, because who would think drinking, eating unhealthy, and not exercising could cause cancer? The lack of understanding and awareness surrounding the prevention of cancer in modern society can be detrimental and even fatal. As much as we as individuals think that this can never happen to us, time and time again, history shows it can happen to anyone. I don't mean to sound bleak, but instead hopeful. Cancer is not always a death sentence and can be prevented. As long as we keep talking about it and educating others, the number of cancer cases will decrease. If you think you have a possible symptom, get tested. Getting tested is normal and only benefits you. If you're nervous about going to the doctor, bring someone you trust, and just remember, it's always better to know than to face the consequences. Hopefully, you never have to use any of this information, and you all live long, happy, prosperous lives. Thank you all for coming.
It was a normal day at school, and I started not to feel good, So I went to the nurse, and then the next month I saw myself in the hospital. In the beginning of 7th grade, I got super sick for 12 months. I was basically stuck to my bed. I was not able to see any of my friends. This is horrible for any 12-year-old kid. I was in the hospital a lot, so I had a lot of interactions with the nurses, and I noticed that the nurses really did care for me. Not just my physical health, but my mental health too. Their compassion had such a positive impact on me. These nurses made me feel like I mattered. According to frontier studies, compassion can reduce anxiety and decrease the likelihood of a patient developing PTSD after a health emergency. It also helps doctors and healthcare workers to provide better care. After this, I started high school virtually because of COVID. Once COVID started to die down, I began to build a community of compassionate people at Big Picture. We are lucky to have a small class of only 14 students. According to AMN Healthcare, being a compassionate nurse not only benefits the patient, but benefits the nurse. Realizing this has helped me learn to be the nurse I'm striving to be. During my first semester at BOCES, I did not get taught a lot. We had to do a lot of book work to help us understand the human body, to get us working with the real people and the tools that we work with. A lot of times, we had to work with the mannequins in our class. But one thing I did not get taught was how to deal with the emotions of seeing a patient who does not get any visitors. One such patient is Mrs. Smith. Mrs. Smith is a delightful 97-year-old lady who I got gladly assigned to. When I walk in her room, the walls in her room are covered in all the paintings that she's done over time, and it shows the changes in her ability. Even after a stroke took apart functions of her hand, which made it more difficult for her to hold a paintbrush, whenever she's able to paint, she lights up. Over the time of doing clinicals twice a week, I began to notice that Mrs. Smith does not have that many visitors. I always make sure each shift I stop by and see Mrs. Smith. Even on the weekends, when I'm off of school, I always make sure to go and visit her. I've been in the BOCES nursing program for 2 years now. I've spent countless hours making flashcards, studying for homework, studying for exams, but one thing I've taken away is that compassion is the most medicine a patient can get. You can be the smartest person in the world and know the entire textbook, but if you cannot sit and listen to your patient, you will not make it far. But I'm in it for the long haul. This career may not fill my wallet, but it'll fill my bucket, which is worth more than $1 million. Thank you.
A lot of you probably left work today before you came here. If I wasn't standing up here on the stage, I'd be at work today too. And all the great teachers that made this event happen are here working as we speak. Although finding your passion in what you do is important, and it makes you better at what you do, and 100% makes this process easier, life isn't all about working. Even if it's just a little bit, we do it to get by. When I was young, I started to see how some of this worked. I saw my mom and my grandpa going to work every day, and not seeming to love it, but bills had to be paid, food had to be bought, and a future had to be made, especially with what my mom had. My grandpa ended up retiring with a pension after being a state attorney his whole career, and he now spends his whole life with me, my sister, my cousins, his grandkids, and going on trips like when we went to Watkins Glen. From what I've heard from my uncle and my mom, he was a grouchy old man before, and he now gets to live this life. We all deserve our own version of this. When I was 3 or 4, I remember taking cans of soda out of my grandparents' fridge and selling it on the corner for $1. A year or 2 later, I was picking flowers around Valentine's Day and trying to sell them door to door. I learned then that there's always a chance to make money. You just have to find the opportunity and seize it. It was maybe when I was 10 that I started to take it seriously myself. Probably too seriously. I was upset that I couldn't get a job for at least a couple more years, and I was worried about how I was going to move out when I was 18 and get a car. Things that were really far away from me then, but are right in front of me now. When I did get that job when I was 14, you can ask my friends and family, and they'll tell you that I did not end up making the best financial decisions. I spent most of my paychecks on things that I didn't need, and to this day, that's still something that I sort of do. But I've gotten better, and I've learned a lot of lessons that I want to share with you. It's become a civil rights issue when families are struggling to put food on the table and are worrying about how they're going to pay their bills every month. There's a lot of social inequalities that lead to that we can't make an immediate change on. But the thing that you can do today is increase your financial literacy, which will improve your life and make a change. The first thing you need to do is find a steady income. Whatever it is, a job, gig. If you're really struggling to find something, try to take what you're passionate about and see how you can make it work for you. There's always an opportunity, you just have to find it. Once you find that opportunity, find a way to put some of that money away. Because before we can talk about growing money, you have to have money that you can save. This is also a problem because half of Americans' emergency fund is non-existent, and another 40% could not cover a $1,000 emergency in cash today. This is a very easy thing that you can start working towards today. The last thing that I want to talk about is credit, because in this world you will use credit, but use it as a tool and not a crutch. If you're going to buy things, you should be able to pay them in cash and not rack up a bill that you can't afford. That credit card interest is going to compound daily, not weekly, not monthly, not yearly, and half of Americans have accumulating credit card balance right now as we speak. A lot of people in this room haven't had the chance to make that mistake, but a lot might have. Take this opportunity to think and learn. I've been a technician at Toyota for a year now, and I'm going to ECC next year. My work is going to pay for it, and I'm going to be paid for my time while I'm there. My goal in the future is to have some land, some animals, a big family, and a garage full of trucks and cars, not worrying about how I'm going to keep it all going. Whatever your goal is, trust me, it's possible. You just have to find the opportunity in life and seize it. I know I talk a lot about money today, but remember, in the end, it's not really about money. It's about living your life. Thank you.
As my father told me growing up on the court, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. This has really stuck with me. I use this on and off the court because it doesn't hurt to miss the shot, but it does hurt you to not take the shot. Raise your hand if you've heard the phrase, comparison is the thief of joy. As a basketball player and an artist, I've had trouble remembering that. Beginning with basketball, I wanted to throw shots like every other player. Beginning with music, I like to compare myself to other artists blowing up. I've been a basketball player and an artist for most of my life. For a long time, I was always comparing myself to others who were switching shots and had beats blown up. When I looked at these people, one thing they all seemed to have in common was confidence. I remember back when I was on the high school basketball team, before every game during warm-ups, I had the most confidence. But as soon as I stepped in the actual game, I felt like a wild animal in a cage at the zoo, like all eyes were on me. This had came to notice once my father had called me out for it, telling me how in warm-ups he seen the ball player that he had knew. But as soon as I got in the game, I lost all that confidence. As soon as I touched the ball, I was so eager to get it out my hands. I was honestly scared of failing. But to become successful at anything, you have to be willing to fail. Once you fall down, you have to learn to stand back up. This lack of confidence also showed up in my other passion, music. I started making music in the summer of my 7th grade year because my cousin kept nagging me to do it, even though I didn't want to. He had been making music for a few years at that point. At that point, music was his thing. I played basketball. I was a basketball player, and he was a rapper. I wasn't confident enough to become a rapper. I didn't think I would be able to do it at the rate that I currently am. Even when I first started off making music and dropped my first few songs, a lot of them were made in collaboration with my cousin, which had led me to attempt to keep up with him because his skills were a lot higher than mine. During that time, I always felt as if I was being overshadowed on my own songs, which had hurt my confidence, especially at the early age of things. This had made me question if I even wanted to continue going. It is hard working with people who are working with more experience. But doing this motivated me to feel as if I always needed to try my best and felt as if I needed to keep up. It wasn't a choice of my mind. My confidence grew by working hard on my craft. Over time, I grew to see progression and more people find an interest in my music and what I was making. This has impacted me to stick with things even through the hard times. Having to hear people's negative comments and feedback, which was bothersome and even made me doubt my ability, it made me want to quit. But I use this feeling and negativity to thrive, to hit my goals, and achieve greatness. Also, having confidence can impact a person in many different ways. For example, some different ways that people can be impacted by having confidence is things such as resilience, expands, along with helping people with their coping skills. On top of this, confidence also helps people to see success and allow themselves to experience freedom from self-doubt and negative thoughts about themselves. According to psychologists at the University of South Florida, having high or low self-confidence is rarely related to your actual abilities, and mostly based on your perceptions. Perceptions of the way that you think about yourself, and these thoughts can be flawed. There was also a long part of time, about a year ago, where the majority of the time I did make music, the songs I was recording just weren't coming out the way I wanted them to. Just didn't sound good. So the way I made it through this was just sticking through the hard times. Just kept working, no matter what, even if it wasn't meeting people's standards. I've reached a point where I feel as if my music is incomparable to others. I personally feel like I'm better than anyone else right now. It isn't a race. I feel like I'm stuck in first place for a long time, not a good time. I'm the LeBron James of making music. All in all, it all started as something small that I never assumed would be this big. Started off as a little joke and ended up turning into a big part of my current lifestyle. With the success and confidence I've built up throughout the years with my music, it has helped me in different ways. But what I think has been most impacted by this is things such as helping me figure out a better understanding for my past, for my future, and carving a path to success for myself. My message for all this is if you maintain your confidence in your passion and ignore people's opinions and take the needed time, you'll achieve your goals for your passion. No matter what you are attempting to pursue, go on confident, be patient. Everyone's journey takes a different amount of time. Thank you.
Would you believe me if I said right before this photo was taken, I was on the verge of throwing up because of anxiety? I was. As a person going into musical theater as a career, no one would really expect that I'd have stage fright. But those close to me know that the fear that comes with getting on stage and having the vulnerability of people looking at you can be debilitating. When I was a kid, I knew from the moment I saw my first musical, High School Musical, that I wanted to do that for the rest of my life. But when I was in 9th grade, I was diagnosed with a generalized anxiety disorder, and with that came major stage fright. Before every show, I'd get physically sick and nervous, and there were moments where I wanted to give up on theater, which I once loved so dearly. So how did I gain the confidence and courage to get on stage anyway? The year directly after COVID dialed down was my freshman year. This was a year I struggled heavily from anxiety in a way that I had never experienced before. I continuously missed school, and my absences started to get scary for my family, my teachers, and for myself. According to a study I found, a student who misses 10 days is 25% less likely to enroll in college. And as a result of that freshman year anxiety, I could barely get up in the morning without feeling terrified of what's to happen. Because of that, I couldn't audition for anything I wanted to because I couldn't find the courage to get on stage in front of people again. To me, that was devastating. All I wanted to do in life was to perform, and I couldn't do so because of my mental health. Now, I am not the only person who has experienced mental health disorders in high school. The annual Healthy Mind Study found in 2021 that 44% of students reported having symptoms of depression, 37% reported having anxiety disorders, and 15% reported having seriously considered suicide in the past year. Thankfully, I had the opportunity to get therapy, which helped a lot. It gave me the courage to get on stage and sing about my anxiety. I still had stage fright, but this time I went on despite it. After my performance, a friend of mine came up to me crying and explained that she thought no one had ever experienced the anxiety I spoke about except for her. She said she had felt so alone until that moment. That was the moment I knew I had to keep going. I had to keep going for the kids like me who couldn't do what they felt passionate about because of an anxiety disorder that was given to them by their environment or by genetics. A few months ago, I attended a panel of local working actors, and I had a specific question about stage fright. I asked them how they deal with the anxiety that comes with getting on stage, singing, acting, and dancing in front of peers and strangers. One Buffalo actor named Ben Moran told me something that I will never forget. He said, anxiety is something that was handed down to us from the years before we evolved, when we were prey being hunted. Before going into an interview, an audition, or performance, you have to acknowledge that. Say to yourself, hi anxiety, I understand that I need you, but I don't need you to drive right now. If you were to remember anything from today, from this tiny speech, I'd like you to leave with this. It is a normal feeling to be scared, but I encourage you to keep going. I encourage you to do it scared. I encourage you to put anxiety in the passenger seat. Thank you.
Who knew that recreating the music video Old Town Road by Little Nas X would help me find my passion and what I love doing? I certainly didn't. When I was in elementary and middle school, I was like every other kid. I was learning how to, well, live. I was learning how to ride a bike, learning how to draw, and learning how to play music. However, in high school, something changed. I used to do a lot, but I stopped doing a lot of activities for one reason or another. Soccer, I stopped doing my asthma. Boy Scouts just wasn't for me. And book club, I didn't enjoy reading books I wasn't interested in. So because of that, I went to high school not knowing what I enjoyed, or even who I really was. I was improving and succeeding in areas I was already comfortable in, but I never stepped out of my comfort zone. One thing I learned from a YouTube video by Shanks Moss is that when you start getting comfortable, you stop getting better. I needed to step out of my comfort zone to improve myself. And that's when I found Big Picture. Big Picture, at its core, pushes you out of your comfort zone. So I started experimenting in areas I was uncomfortable in a few years prior. However, when I was told I was going to be doing a presentation in front of 15 of my class members, I freaked out and panicked. I told my teacher and myself there was no way I could do a presentation in front of 15 people. And even now, when I was told I was going to be doing a TEDx event, I said, oh no, I'm not. But I told myself I've done harder stuff before. Now, I hadn't found a passion yet. So what happens to a person's mind when they find their passion? According to eSchool News, 75% of high school students don't know what career they want to pursue after high school. I certainly did a few years ago. So, when my class was in a competition to recreate a music video, and we needed an editor, I said, why not? Now, we had chosen Old Town Road, and I had recorded the entire thing in about a week, which left me with less than a day to complete the entire video and upload it to my teacher. So, I threw it all together in about 15 minutes. And like a crappy last-minute science project, it wasn't very good. I was used to putting in the minimum effort required because that's what I was comfortable doing. But because of that, nothing I made was enjoyable or fun. However, there's this one scene where we were standing in front of the projector. And I thought to myself, hey, don't people on YouTube cut out people and put them on top of backgrounds? Why don't I try that? I then spent a while working on it, and eventually my mom came in asking what I wanted for dinner. And that's when I realized it had been 8 hours. I put my effort into the project, and I had so much fun doing it. And the best part was, we destroyed all the other classes. My teachers saw my video and saw my potential in video editing. So they told me to look into an internship that involved video editing, which led me to 26 shirts. They needed help creating some advertisements, so I started out by making parts of some videos, but it ended up with me creating the entire video with full creative control over it, which was awesome. Now, with all this great stuff happening, I was a lot happier. In fact, according to Dr. Allison Block Health Psychological Center, studies show that having a passion can help you be more resilient, having an outlet to relieve stress, and having better self-esteem. That was certainly true for me. Because I stepped out of my comfort zone and got uncomfortable, I found my passion and part of myself. Because I put my all into a joke little mini project, I'm now much happier about what I create or do. I can express myself in many different ways, and I even intend to go to college with this as a class I would like to take. I'm going to put everything I can into everything I do, because maybe, just maybe, I'll find another passion I really enjoy. Now that I've told you my passion, what's yours? Staying comfortable. Thank you.
Who in here has procrastinated doing something? I better see everyone's hands. The main reason why you procrastinate is because you're scared of getting out of your comfort zone. Getting out of your comfort zone gives you a sense of success in your brain, bringing confidence levels and morale status up. Even the little things like going for a run or trying a new food, the little things that matter. Many people procrastinate and put these things off. Sometimes they procrastinate because they don't believe they can do it. In other words, lacking confidence. I grew up in a family of landscapers and plow drivers. My uncle is a landscaper and does winter snow removal. My grandfather and great-grandfather were also landscapers. I got a job 2 summers ago to do landscaping with my brother and his friend, but I was not making enough money. I realized there that there's money to be made in the business. So I decided to cold call some other landscaping and plowing businesses to see what was out there. The idea of reaching out to new employers was scary because I wanted to make a good first impression. And I was afraid that I would make a fool of myself. I fell back on procrastinating because this was way out of my comfort zone. And I was unsure of myself. However, I realized I had to take on more of a just do it lifestyle. Because at the end of the day, what's the worst that could happen? I made more calls and got rejected over and over again by a lot of companies. The main reason being, they already had enough people or they needed staff with more experience. Fast forward to the winter time, I was just about to give up on my landscaping and snow removal career. I made one more call and left a message, not thinking anything would come from it. But I actually got a call back. They said, "How would you like to come follow?" I was surprised, but also excited to start something new, and that going out of my comfort zone finally paid off. Not only did I get a new job, I was trusted with more responsibilities and was offered many more opportunities, like being able to maintain the fleet of vehicles and equipment. I now was able to learn how to service a lawnmower and give them the chance to work on company vehicles and trailers. When's the last time you said no to something that could be important or give you a confidence boost and ask yourself, why didn't you do it? Now that there is self-doubt. You think you could do it and everyone is going to come after you or have something bad to say. The thing I learned is nobody will say anything to you or aloud because they suffer from self-doubt as well. Wondering if people thought it was funny or if people think they were wrong for it. That's what it's like to be a human being. Procrastination. What is procrastination? It is the action of not taking an action or prolonging the time it takes to do something. What are some of the main risks of procrastination? The National Institute of Health says it can cause anxiety, stress, depression, and low self-esteem, fatigue, and bad decision making. It is not only a damage to your physical health, but a major impact to your mental health. The Innovative Counseling Partners says that 70% of procrastinators get diagnosed with ADHD or depression. Sometimes you need to just take that jump into action. Think, when is the last time you wanted to start a business, or wanted a better job, or even wanted a new watch? Why can't you? It's because you're procrastinating on why you don't go make calls, call businesses, see if they need help, get on the phone with people that want to invest. There's money out there that needs to be and can be found. Take the chance on yourself and give yourself a reason to get up and do something. You'll be surprised on how much it builds your confidence. Thank you everyone for coming.
When I was in 9th grade, I struggled with being bullied by other students. It had gotten to a point where I would cry, always begging to go home, and wanting to change schools, thinking I'd be better at a different school. At this time, I barely had friends or people who treated me right. During this time, I had lost all my motivation to do anything, which made me feel like I wasn't worth it and nothing I did was good enough. I began to realize losing motivation was an issue. Many people who struggle with getting bullied feel like they don't deserve to be here in this world or feel they aren't worth anyone's time. This issue began to hit me emotionally and began making me want to learn more about how people's minds are when having lost motivation. The internet defines motivation as the internal drive or force that compels a person to initiate, sustain, and direct their behavior towards achieving goals. What creates motivation in people, you may ask? Well, it's the desire and energy that people have to take action and reach a specific outcome in their life. Motivation can be explained in 3 words. Those 3 words are intensity, direction, and persistence. Why these 3 words? Well, it's the process that initiates, guides, and maintains goal-oriented behaviors. This had left me to realize the word direction meant a real lot to me. Because of me having the opportunity to change schools to where I am at now, the Big Picture program. Big Picture has helped me decide I did not want to switch schools anymore, and to have that feeling of wanting to stay. This is because of how the Big Picture program is being ran and how this school has really built me as a person. This school has helped me to not only have, but to build my motivation in life. There's a motivational quote saying, "Positive thinking brings beautiful results. Keep your eyes and heart open to the beauty around you. Each day is an opportunity to enjoy the little things that bring happiness." This quote can mean a lot to people, motivating them to feel better about themselves. Feeling negative thoughts leads you to not feeling motivated. but forcing you to have a positive outlook on things, also forcing you to have motivation. This is why motivation is something that needs to stay in people's lives to help them not only be the best version of themselves, but to stay feeling good and happy each and every day they walk on this earth. Stay motivated and feel good about yourself. Thank you.
Would you say you like the idea of being a slouch, or would you like to say the idea of being driven by curiosity and knowledge? Well, let me explain to you what I mean. My brain is definitely an active one, and because of this, I may like to find things that activate it more. I like to build Legos, I like to cook, I like to listen to music, I like to listen to friends and hang out with friends and read books. Now, researchers at Harvard conducted a study with people aged 65 and older, and more than 60% of them have had long-standing mental health issues. Now, when compared with people who didn't have hobbies, those who did reported better mental health, fewer symptoms of depression, and higher life satisfaction. Now, with this new knowledge, you may ask yourself, out of art, sports, academics, poetry, how did I figure out my hobby? Well, I'm a drummer, and my grandfather is also a drummer too. He's been the drummer for Bo Diddley for a very long time. He's played with members of Steely Dan, and he's opened for the band. He's shared his experiences with me through hangouts and seeing him play shows, so his passion for music is clearly evident. Now, although he has inspired my drumming heavily, he's not how I discovered drums. See, in 2019, I got this Guitar Hero knockoff called Rock Band. And I loved Rock Band because the creators of the game made it The Beatles exclusive. And I loved that game too. I used to come home, dress up in a little two-piece and, mock the game characters. I really did enjoy the game. So, with the new love of the Beatles and inspiration from my grandpa, I had a choice. I'd keep pressing plastic fake buttons on a plastic fake guitar, or I could take up the real thing. So I chose drums. Now, when I got only into the Beatles and drums, I only got into the Beatles. So yeah, that taught me some rudimentary skills, but after a little more years later, I found out this band called Oasis. And they were a bit more modern, a little bit more poppier, so it pushed me to my edge and made me learn some newer skills. And finally, I got into this band called Nirvana. And they were a lot heavier and energetic than Oasis, which was different, but I still really, really liked it. So from that day on, I decided to play and listen to all the music that I had a connection with. So playing the drums as a hobby and casually working on it helps in more ways than one. Research from Sierra McCabe suggests that hobbies like playing a musical instrument can improve your memory, while artistic hobbies such as puzzles or reading can prevent dementia later in life. Now, I've made a lot of friends along the way, and I've talked about a lot of different music with them too. I've been able to improve and hone my skills through practice, and because of this, I am able to comfortably play music and jam with people in person. Now in 2023, the U.S. Surgeon General concluded that loneliness and isolation was an epidemic, and those aged 55 and up are way more likely to experience social isolation. So that's why it's crucial that participating in hobbies, whether it's card games, book clubs, or even drumming, ensures that you're not just getting out there, but you're also engaging with other people. So equipped with this knowledge, let me ask you, is there anything that drives curiosity and knowledge through you? Thank you.
Growing up, you may have heard, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. Well, today, I'm here to tell you that's not true. It was right after my sister passed, and I was in middle school. I just grabbed lunch,
We were having cherry blossom chicken, one of my favorites. I sat down at my table, excited about lunch, and someone I'd known my whole life and even considered a friend saw my shirt for my sister's memorial. In a sympathetic tone, he asked me, "Zoe, your sister died?" When I'd explained to him that she had, he dropped the sympathy and laughed in my face. I was extremely hurt. How could a friend be so cruel? His laughter sticks with me to this day, which recently made me think, how deeply can words really hurt someone? So, I started doing some research and found that the brain physically changes at negative words. In their book, Words Can Change Your Brain, neuroscientists Andrew Newberg and author Mark Waldman say just seeing a list of negative words for a few seconds will make a highly anxious or depressed person feel worse. Elizabeth Doherty of Harvard Medical School stated verbal abuse can injure brain pathways, possibly causing depression, anxiety, and problems with language processing. However, the way that negative words can affect you is the same way that positive words can. During the summer I turned 16, I was extremely insecure about my body. So I didn't wear shorts for almost a year straight. That summer, I decided to do so. While at a carnival with my mom, I stood in line for the Ferris wheel, completely anxious and out of my comfort zone. That's when I saw a naturally stunning girl standing in line for fried dough. We made eye contact for a second, and then I looked away. She eyed me down, which made me feel more insecure than I already had. And when I turned to face the Ferris wheel again, she tapped me on the shoulder. And when I turned around, she had said to me, "You are extremely pretty." I felt more confident about my choice, and honestly, I held my head high with confidence for a good week after. This experience was so positive for me, it helped me become more comfortable in the skin that I had previously despised. In fact, during my junior year, I decided to wear shorts to school. I felt anxious and vulnerable, but I remembered what the girl said, and that day I left school with a smile and prouder of myself than I had in a long time. During my research on negative words, I thought about, what about positivity? How can that affect a person? In that research, I found that positivity can be very beneficial to a person's brain. Newberg and Waldman also stated, positive words and thoughts propel the motivational centers of the brain into action. This pretty much means that positive words can encourage motivation and have a direct impact, just like negative words can. In the neuroscience behind our words, Lindsay Horton stated, by exercising consistent positive thoughts and speech, we not only change our self-perception, but how we perceive the world around us. That doesn't only help one person, but it has a ripple effect and can change the world, if only we would let it. You see, if we all used our words to build each other up instead of tearing each other down, the world may actually stand a chance at becoming a better place. If there's one thing I'd like you to remember from this, it's this. Happier kids, healthier teens. It begins with us. Thank you.
I never realized how important a role strangers could play in my life. I had just turned 11 when my dad, a volunteer fireman, passed away. I was numb and scared, but it was the kind people that were there for me that I will never forget. When I saw how many people's lives my father touched, I realized I wanted to follow in his honorable footsteps into a career that helps others. I wanted to give back and help people by being kind and compassionate for the rest of my life. For a long time, I thought I wanted to be a firefighter just like my dad. I even did a trimester-long research project on this idea. After exploring career choices, I now know that I want to be a nurse. I still want to be able to help people, but in a more nurturing and advocating way. Helping people who can't help themselves helps a part of you. This is incredibly special to me.
When we are seniors, we do a passion project that helps the community. I've chosen to do my topic on disability awareness. Since I was a young child, I've always enjoyed spending time with people of all abilities. When I was younger, my dad and I would spend time volunteering at the Miracle League baseball events to help out as buddy runners for people with special needs and disabilities so they could have an opportunity to play baseball just like everyone else. My dad taught me from a young age that everybody deserves the same opportunities no matter what their abilities are and should be treated with kindness. I enjoyed this because it gave me the opportunity to connect with people and help them directly while making their day. I play softball myself, so seeing them play and enjoy themselves really made me happy. I believe that kindness is a priority, and being equally kind to everyone is how I like to live my life. By completing this project, I intend to share my mindset with others in hopes they will follow this journey and make the world a better place by being kind. You don't have to be a nurse or firefighter to change someone's life. Kindness can make the world a happier place for everyone by boosting feelings of confidence, happiness, and optimism. According to the Mental Health Foundation, a random act of kindness can increase endorphins, causing others to feed the same good deed themselves, contributing to a more positive community. What's important to remember is no act of kindness, however big or small, is wasted. Kindness has the potential to directly improve our lives, no matter how big or small the act is. Kindness has 2 points of view. The first one is the person who's delivering the act, and the second is the person receiving the act. The great thing about both roles are both people are going to walk away feeling better than they did before. It doesn't take much to be kind, so why don't we take more time out of our day to make people feel better through simple acts of kindness? My decision to become a nurse started when I seen my dad in the hospital as a kid, and then when I experienced the loss of my dad. I knew I wanted to be just like him, but I also wanted to be my own person and care for people in a more nurturing way. When I was a kid, I had a toy stethoscope and a little scrub set from the gift shop of the hospital my dad was in, but I never thought I'd be in the process of becoming a nurse today. Being around nurses when I was a very young girl, I remember thinking they were like superheroes. I remember thinking they were so brave. When I was scared of all the tubes, machines, and gauze and all their gruesome jobs, their kindness showed me that that really was their superpower. After a while, he went home, but he needed lots of extra care and attention. Rather than having a nurse come to our house to do everything for him, my mom did. It was hard, but she taught me how to help her. I remember feeling scared like I was going to hurt him, but this was such an eye-opener for me. I realized how much I love doing this. I am now in BOCES for nursing, and I go to clinical 2 times a week taking care of the elderly. Not only do we shower them, get them dressed, and feed them, it's also about sitting with them and talking about their passions. Kindness should be everyone's priority, and my goal is to show the same kindness to people that the nurses showed my dad years ago. No matter who you are, what you look like, or what your abilities are, you deserve kindness, and that's what I'm trying to encourage. That's my message. Thank you.
Imagine being given a large canvas with endless possibilities to what you can create, but only being given white paint. How do you create a masterpiece? Believe it or not, my younger self was able to relate to that question more than anything else in her life at that time. My name is Anna, and I'm here today to talk to you about high school students, but more importantly, the students like my younger self, the C-average students. First, we need to understand how many kids like my younger self are quitting school and why. According to the National Center for Education Statistics, as of 2023, 2.1 million students drop out of high school, never earn a high school diploma or GED equivalent each year. The reason why it's so easy to picture the C-average students becoming dropouts isn't just because they might not like school. There's a few more factors in it. Traditional schools are notorious for pushing their students for a higher level of education at some kind of university or post-secondary school. But these schools are pushing so hard on their students that it's draining the creativity out of kids like me faster than we bother to think about. Creativity plays such an important role in developing as a human, and when it gets drained out of a kid like me, it becomes harder to relate yourself to the real world, and it can also become harder to learn in school without the personalization of your own imagination. Of course, this is not the case for all students. Some students are good at school on a traditional level, and we encourage them to stay in school and thrive along with the rest of us. But as for the students who aren't geared towards their grades and high school life, we are generally more inclined towards what we want to make of ourselves through our own talents and creativity, rather than focusing on colleges and universities after high school. Sometimes it can also come down to how well an educator knows a student who isn't as interested in school or learning. Taking the time to understand the student's interests can mean the difference to how a student might feel about school. One of the biggest troubles about being a CR student was feeling heard and understood completely. If I had a teacher who understood that I learned differently, and then including my own interests into my work helped me thrive better, it might have helped me gain a better understanding of what I wanted for myself in the future. Once I came here to this very school, I was able to explore new ways to make learning more interesting and personalized to myself. I was given more colors to paint my own canvas. I mean that both literally and figuratively. My academic strength is better than ever. I went from averaging 45s in each class in middle school to now high 80s and 90s, all because I was able to put more of my own imagination into all of my work here. I was also given the opportunity during my last year here to start creating a mural for the school that not only showcases the community and everything within, but also my growth as a person and the creativity I'm expressing within my work today. I can confidently tell you that painting with more than just white paint makes everything so much better and brighter. So to my fellow students who aren't as interested in school or their grades, this is for you. Of course, I encourage you to stay in school and give it your all, but also never let anyone try to make you into something or someone you don't want to be. I encourage you to always stay true to yourselves and to never lose touch with your own style of creativity. Go make the painting you can picture in your head. Go finish that song you created a beat to. Go design that clothing line your future is about. Go out to create your own path and become something great. Thank you.
Thank you all very much for coming to our very first TEDxKenmore Jr Sr High School talk. It's been absolutely amazing to watch these kids go through this whole process tonight. Everyone did absolutely amazing. I'd like to invite all of the 401s to come back out for one last round of applause.
The 401 class wants to thank Matthew Levine, Stacy Pritchard, Karen Monaco, and John Graber for going above and beyond for our class. We thank you guys so much for this wonderful opportunity.